All right. Good morning, everyone. The May 10th Executive Committee meeting is being called to order. First, I would like to ask our interpreters to explain how to access interpretation. Please proceed.
Good morning. Announcement from the interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, world, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app from a cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días, aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, el globo terráqueo y seleccione español. Si está usando la aplicación de móvil de Zoom desde su celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de la reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's begin this morning with a tribal acknowledgement. And we will take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region has historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups: the Kumeyaay, the Igueño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now, if you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if we could please confirm quorum on the record.
Thank you. We do have a quorum with 5 of 6 member jurisdictions present and 1 ex officio member.
All right, thank you. So let's get going with non-agenda comments. We will remind folks that the meeting will be conducted in an orderly manner and that the public has an opportunity to be heard, and members' discussions and deliberations will not be disrupted. All right. So based on a variety of factors related to meeting management, each member of the public will be allowed 1 minute for their comments. Also, as a reminder to the executive committee members, we do not use the voting pads for executive committee, so please just go ahead and raise your hands if and when you'd like to speak. Let's hear non-agenda public comment, please.
Thank you. I'd also like to remind the public we take the first 5 non-agenda public comments at the beginning of the meeting. That will be Michael Brando, Truth, Mark, phone number 415, and Blair Beekman. The phone number 813 in the original draw, you will be called at the end of the meeting. Michael Brando, please come to the podium.
I've attended a number of City of San Diego meetings, and I've gotten to observe the behavior of Hashan Elo Rivera, and talk about disorderly conduct in a meeting. I've noticed that when speakers are present at the lectern at City of San Diego, very often Sean is turned around speaking with Brendan, one of the staffers there, completely ignoring the person at the podium, completely ignoring the people that call in. Now, what's interesting is people at home see this on the streaming because the video is not catching that. Of course, some of us have recorded our own private videos in the meeting and seen this behavior. So again, this comes back to an issue of trust. So many here, like Jacktivist Shu, have talked about modifying people's behavior in regards to different things like alleged climate change. Well, this is an area of behavior modification that would be helpful for people on the dais to pay attention to speakers. Thank you.
Our next commenter, Truth, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Mark.
My bike anywhere day. I'm going to make sure to drive my motorcycle bike everywhere. I also want more equity from SANDAG, so I demand that the types of chairs that you represented, I am also provided the same chair or better. And I want to continue to beat the drum about this podium. This location blocks and disenfranchises my view of almost every rep on this side. There also needs to be a timer right on the podium so people don't have to play a guessing game of where to look. And Jacktivist, you said cars are expensive for poor people and can contribute to homelessness. Well, do you know that a person with a car who becomes homeless can live safely in their car, but a person without a car who becomes homeless gets to stay homeless? Lastly, I request that SANDAG immediately ban all electric vehicles. They're destroying the environment with their wild lithium fires, toxic smoke, and non-recyclable batteries. Just like a plastic ban, an EV ban would send a message that SANDAG cares about safety and environmental protection. And I also realize that COVID and GHGs are the same thing. They're both invisible, but allegedly result in death, and so are used as the excuse to control people's behaviors. And I also volunteer to be Nora's vocal interpreter since she has laryngitis.
Your time expired. Our next commenter, Mark, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by the final two, phone number 415 and Blair Beekman.
Mark, so there are new robots that you can see videos of on YouTube where they're actually firing guns and they're shoving the robot around. It fires perfectly, it gets back up. It can't be stopped pretty much. And it's more accurate than a person. And AI has just beaten a jet fighter pilot. So it's really close to the end of America now if Americans don't get off their butt and get serious about changing things. I'm not advocating violence. In Germany, the people are so upset they're attacking politicians. And SANDAG and our government is modeling us after Europe and the European Union to make us the North American Union. So it's really serious, it's dangerous. People need to see these 4 video titles. Rosa Corey, Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21. It's a little longer, but that'll bring it up. Start at 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Zeitgeist Addendum, full free documentary, Social Pathology, Peter Joseph. Start that at 6 minutes and 40 seconds and watch it till 24 minutes. Goodbye American Sovereignty, Hello USMCA, start 3 minutes. And the corporation.
And your time expired. Our next commenter, phone number 415, please go ahead.
Bold. If it comes up, I urge you to look hard at the cost and risk of the entire Lausanne project before approving any Lausanne proposals or additions which need your approval. Law nature will set the schedule. How much money, time, effort, and maybe lives will SANDAG waste? All up and down California, the coastal bluffs and infrastructure is being eaten up by natural forces. The proposed tax will not be sufficient to cover Lausanne, repairs to the current track tunnel, and repairs to the due to nature's constant pounding. Phase 4 stabilization of the bluffs, Delmar Bluffs, was finished in 2020. Emergency repair was completed in 2022. And SANDAG started a seawall to shore up the bluffs in 2024. So can we expect continued emergency?
Your time expired. Our final commenter, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I've been very moved in the past few days that, local activists have been asking, their local city governments here in the San Diego area to make some sort of statement about what's going on with the UCSD police issues, and that they're kind of like taking down the riots, not the riots, taking down the protesting that's going on there about Gaza and Israel. I'm for peace. I'm for dialogue. peace and dialogue for both Israel and Russia and Ukraine. I would like the same from our council persons of the area. The work that you do at SANDAG, to me, is giving great examples that, you know, if you work towards openness and accountability, ideas of best practices at this time is an awesome good way to describe how to work towards peace for those areas and dialogue. And if we do good work here at the local level, openness and accountability, that gives examples to the world. Good luck in those, continuing those efforts. Thank you.
And that concludes the public comments.
All right. Do we have any non-agenda member comments? Okay. Hearing none, let's move on to our agenda. We've got our consent agendas items 2 through 4. Colleen, do you have any updates on the draft agendas?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair. So 2 agendas are before you today, the May 24th agenda and then also the June 14th agenda. For May 24th, we had on there the audit action plan update. We are going to continue to work with OIPA on making some updates to that. So we're pushing that off the May 24th agenda and we'll bring that forward to you at a later date. We'll also be adding 2 additional closed session items to that meeting. These are with respect to recent claims received. So those 2 closed session items will be added. And then I just wanted to mention that Friday, June 14th, this is the Tribal Summit, and that is where the SANDAG Board of Directors comes together with the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association. And this is something we do once every 4 years. And it really is the way for us to bring together all of these governments to work in a collaborative way. So that concludes my comments on that item.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Do we have any board member comments, or is there a request to pull an item that's on the consent agenda? Mayor
Chair, I would like to discuss the upcoming agenda, or actually number 4, the 24 budget amendment.
Okay, so you'd like to pull that from the consent agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like some discussion on that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we will pull that, and we'll pull that from the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on the remainder of the consent agenda?
I'll move
Or-
approval for the rest.
Really quick, we'll go to
Yeah, I'm not
Councilmember
able to
Zito.
second, but I just want to make a comment relative to the CEO, just relative, you know, I had asked for the update of the after action plan to come to the audit committee. I just want to acknowledge that I thought there was a lot to talk about there at the audit committee, so that's why I did that. But the audit committee does send annually an update of all the after action plans to the board, which usually occurs in July or September. And it might be fine just to combine it with that for the purposes of the board, but I think it's something the board leadership can decide whether or not it makes sense to combine or have a separate topic.
Councilmember Zito, just to also make sure I'm clear, is there preference or request that it come to audit before it comes to the
So
full
it does
board,
come to
or-
the audit committee first,
Okay.
and then the whole, at once a year, the audit committee sees a review of all of the after action plans
Right.
and the status of them, and then it goes to the board. I'm just saying, you know, from a board perspective, you might just want to combine them and have it in one topic,
it.
unless you think there's going to be a lot of discussion around this particular one.
Understood. Understood. Okay. And Mayor Jones, you made a motion to approve the consent agenda
Correct.
with item 4 being removed.
Correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
You'll second. Thank you, Mayor Vasquez. All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with item 4 pulled.
Vice Chair, could we
Yes.
please take public comment?
Oh, yeah. Let's take public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 6 public commenters on this item. Truth, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Mark. I'd like to remind the commenters, this is public comment on the consent agenda, items 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, item 2, the minutes say MIA, Schadenfreude Sean hasn't been back since February. Hello again. Also that Nora was late as always. The minutes also do not know that Nora is not a liberal with speaker time. She's more of a regressive progressive. She talks way too much too. Item 3, it's strange that progress reports would be thrown into the consent calendar. Is it because SANDAG has no real progress worth noting, only fiascos? It also appears that the audit action plan requires more time. Much like removing the road user charge tax, it's the reliable SANDAG snail speed. That's about the same speed as the trolleys or the rapid buses. On May 24th, why would Mario deliver his own action update rather than Andre? And I'm looking forward to the tribal summit in June, but can you outdo the borders version? Because I like that one, but maybe that's why there's a luncheon to bribe everyone. And item 4, should I be happy that the cost to write a response letter to the Department of Injustice is now less at $500,000? Or should I be mad at such a waste of taxpayer money that will probably go to helping the FBI cover up all the fraud, waste, and abuse? It's a great media tactic, but the FBI, forget it.
And your time expired. Mark, please come to the podium. You will be followed by the original draw, who will be followed by Blair Beekman.
Mark, so for the Department of Justice Inquiry to get more money for you guys to do a response, there's only one response. You're completely wrong, and your agendas are wrong. And I mean, even if you had done the fines of the traffic system properly, it's a scam. As for 5, the audit committee shall be overseen by SANDAG Board of Directors. Well, that's like the foxes guarding the henhouse. It's kind of ridiculous. And of course, there's only a few seconds left, and there's just so little I can say about this. And I didn't have a lot of time to overlook 5 like I wanted to. But I'm sure it's a scam. Absolutely no doubt that most of what you guys are doing.
And your time expired. Our next commenter, the original draw, will be followed by Blair Beekman and phone number 813. Original draw, please go ahead. Go ahead.
How cool is it to commit crimes and whatnot, right? And just like totally waste the people's money and do all these nefarious things, and then have the people that you're doing that to pay for you to respond to the Department of Justice. How funny is that, right? How many words is that going to be? It's a pretty expensive response, I would say, but you really need someone to bullshit just so that they can get you guys out of hot water, right? I mean, it's so sad to think that when you guys are, you know, engaging in all of this fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption, firing people who are bringing it forward instead of, you know, just admitting to it. And then the only reason you admit to different things is because it comes out in the press, right? And then you have visits from the FBI, and then you're just like, you know what? Let's have the people pay even more money just so that we can get out of this. Oh my gosh, we need somebody who is a good wordsmith that's going to come in and just really blow them away with our words to make it seem like what we're doing isn't fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption. Oh, what a position to be in, you guys.
Your time expired. Our next commenter, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. I had 2 items I wanted to discuss. I think there is a certain responsibility that our local elected officials have to offer concepts of peace and positive sustainability in the concepts of war that is going on in the Ukraine and Israel at this time. Hopefully my ways, what I just offered previously, can be good beginning ways for yourselves to more openly talk with community, your ideas about peace and sustainability. Thank you. I mean, we've been working on that for years now. I hope we can continue that effort. I sure am. And with that, consent calendar items. The DRA mentioned yesterday that at the SANDAG mobility public comment time that you only offer the names of people at the meeting minutes process. And to me, and that seems a way that's a bit Robert's rules, and that we can work to, that tends to be a bit egalitarian. I hope you can learn to offer just a few words, a few sentences of what public comment of people offer.
Your time expired. Our next commenter, phone number 813, please go ahead. You'll be followed by the final commenter 415. You are self-muted.
Okay. Yeah, so let's see. Sean, it was really good seeing you coming out of the county meeting the other day. There playing the part as if you care to the in the dark, clueless citizens begging and thanking the same government that put them in harm's way in the first place, but whatever. Okay, so this is bringing the tribal nations together. Tribal and colonizers. What could go wrong? Uncle Tomahawks are at it again. The ancestors are rolling in their graves. We learn from history that we haven't learned from history. You do not honor the First Nations people, let's be real. And you have learned absolutely nothing from the Indigenous people.
Our next commenter, phone number 415, please go ahead.
Paula Bold. I'm talking about this Department of Justice inquiry. $600,000 you want to allocate. I assume that it's for more than just saying hello.
So that item has been removed from the consent agenda. So that's actually not an appropriate item for this public comment period.
Am I then going to be able to talk on it later?
Yes, that item has been pulled from the consent agenda and will be discussed after we conclude with the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
That concludes the public comments on the consent agenda.
All right, thank you. Mayor Jones, you made a motion. It was seconded by Mayor Vasquez. It was brought to my attention that item number 9, there's been a request to remove that from the agenda and instead have that heard on May 24th. So item 9 on the board agenda today. So we can offer that as a friendly amendment to the motion that was made.
Yes, I'd accept it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the seconder of the motion, Mayor Vasquez, you're okay with that as well? All right.
Yes.
So item 9 on today's board agenda has been moved to May 24th. We've got a motion, a second on the floor. Is there any discussion of the consent agenda? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say A or aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Yes.
None? Okay. No abstentions that I am hearing. The motion carries. Let's move to item number 4, which was pulled from the consent agenda. And Mayor Jones, are you requesting a presentation on that item, or did you simply want it to be pulled out for discussion?
No, I just have some discussion on that, Chair.
Okay. All right. Let's hear public comment on item 4, and then we will begin board discussion of that item.
Then I will go ahead and call back Truth, who had submitted a slip for item 4, and Mark, you will follow.
All right, I get to have fun with this. I already talked about it, right? Who cares? So regarding the Department of Injustice, and I actually talked to the certification listening session. I was one of 3 people. Amazing. That's a record low for SANDAG. But I did get to speak for 6 minutes, and I got to tell them all about how SANDAG is not worthy of being certified for many reasons, lots of corruption, including the picking of the CEO just to go ahead and push everything through, sweep it under the rug, and how you can't get things done for years without having constant drama. I mean, talked about dysfunctional family earlier. SANDAG isn't even a family, and it's just plain dysfunctional. But yeah, I think the FBI is going to help SANDAG cover it up. But I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the ones at the top, the senior regional planners who talk a big game, but when it comes to actually fixing the system, they don't do it. And so 500,000, that is, I want to know who's going to write the report. Who's actually in charge of that? Is that the same thing as the mystery executive?
Your time expired. Mark, please come to the podium for comments on agenda item number 4.
Mark, on 4, you guys getting $500,000 for a response. First of all, obviously taxing people or charging fees when people are paying taxes to make roads for themselves to use. The whole idea of it's absolutely absurd. And And on top of that, of course, it was completely in a system that, I mean, it's a simple computer program. It couldn't have been
So,
screwed up.
sir,
unless-
the item is for the allocation of $500,000 from the
For
contingent.
the inquiry, to respond to the inquiry
Right.
about
So
the
if you could
traffic
speak
allocation.
to the allocation,
Yeah,
that would
I
be on
don't think you
topic.
should allocate it. I think it's a total scam. So I literally think that you're doing Agenda 21. People need to see the YouTube title, Rosa Corey Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21. It's a little longer than that. Part 1. You can see parts 2 and part 3 also. That is what SANDAG is doing, and they're limiting people's movement. And to do an audit of this, and you guys having a response, what response could you say? If you want an honest response, don't send a dime. Just say you're doing Agenda 21. It totally sucks. It's against the sovereignty of the United States, and you shouldn't exist.
Thank you. And a reminder to the public commenters, you are speaking on item 4 only, which is a budget amendment for the Department of Justice inquiry costs. Phone number 415, please go ahead.
Paula Bold. 600,000 was the original amount I got. I assume it's for more than just saying hello. The attachment says, based on DOJ request today, it is anticipated that a considerable amount of additional funding will be needed. So you might want to recommend measures to abate this, such as preparing files to be easily retrieved, maybe even firing or suspending the suspects, and beef up the reserves. The way SANDAG has kept things secret from the public, the board of directors, and even destroyed their hidden documents, and this has happened time and time again. SANDAG is a corrupt organization, but I would definitely anticipate costs this year of way more than 600,000, especially if you've already spent.
And your time expired. The next commenter, phone number 813, will be followed by the final 2 commenters, the original draw and Blair Beekman. Phone number 8, please go ahead.
Yep, ditto to everything that Mark and Paul just mentioned. Yep, this is all Agenda 21 driven. And yeah, to repeat what Paul just said, you guys keep everybody in the dark. And yeah, to say what, to repeat what Mark just said, you guys, I mean, SANDAG should not even be, shouldn't even exist. So sad. People are so in the dark and so clueless. That's all I got.
The original draw, please go ahead.
It's crazy what you guys will do to hide the corruption that's going on, and you hide stuff from the people, you silence the people, and this is just a reflection of all of the negligence that has taken place. And you need somebody to now then wordsmith you out of it. Instead, you should be firing upper management people like Andre, who have engaged in all of this fraud, waste, and abuse that has led us down this path, or you guys. And you continue to then spend the people's money to try and, you know, hide what you guys are doing even more. And it doesn't leave trust with the people when you can't be transparent, when you hide documents, when you get rid of them, when you try and, you know, speak your way or whatever out of the issues that the people know exist. And then you just want to take our money to just go and defend that. I mean, it's not like you can even trust the FBI because the whole government is in collusion with everything that they're doing. And it's always ways to, you know, like hide what's happening. So there's no trust in you guys, and this is exactly why.
Our final commenter, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I hope we can always be looking for ways for a more open public meeting process. Thank you. For this item, if I am wrong, I think please stop me if I'm wrong. But it's my understanding that there is some sort of corruption charges or charges of wrongdoing with this item is why you need the budget money for it at this time with the DOJ. If I'm wrong, stop me. Otherwise, to go on with what I've been trying to offer recently, it's really important that these sort of wrongdoing issues have been happening a lot in San Diego city governments in the area for a while now. We're trying, I mean, the more it keeps coming out and it's frustrating, but I think the more we're noticing and noting it, it will be a part of an important process of accountability we're all trying to learn as a county, cities of the county. Good luck in those efforts. We can really clean up and really make the efforts towards better openness and accountability. There's ways to do that in our future. Man, really good luck in working on it, and we can really clean house and we can do it well. Good luck in those.
And your time expired, and that concludes the public comments on agenda item 4.
All right, thank you so much. Let's begin our board discussion of item 4 with Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. So my question is specifically, and I'm not sure if we can answer this, but on the admin costs for the 125, I believe this is part of the DOJ inquiry. So my question would be, and in the city, when we have contracts with developers or other entities, we generally have a hold harmless agreement where if we get sued on a certain item, that then they now have to defend our agency. So my question is on the 125, if the DOJ inquiry is deemed to be most of it on the 125, is it possible for us to get reimbursed? Because I don't really think we should be spending taxpayer dollars on defending contractors that have failed us, and that we are, that there could be something weird going on with them that is illegal, and that's why the DOJ is, looking into us. So I guess my question would be, if it is deemed that it is specifically, like for instance, on the 125, and we have our contractors that have failed us, like HNTB and ETAN, if it's possible for us to get reimbursed for those dollars.
Manager. I will start by saying we don't know the scope of the DOJ's investigation at this point, or whether it involves the 125 or any of those contractors. I would say, generally speaking, should there be any evidence of wrongdoing by any SANDAG contractor, we would have opportunities to pursue damages against those contractors for any intentional conduct.
So the damages would cover a DOJ inquiry?
They could potentially cover costs associated with that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that we were doing that. It just kind of occurred to me as I was driving in this morning. I went, well, I should ask about that. Okay. Then I would move forward to approving that item, Chair.
All right, thank you, Mayor Jones. We've got a motion to approve item number 4, the staff recommendation for item number 4. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second from Member Burkholder. All right, any additional discussion of this item? Seeing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any nays? No nays. Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, that item is approved unanimously. And let's move to item number 5 for discussion of Board Policy 39. And I will turn it over to the Audit Committee Chair, Councilmember Zito.
Yeah, thanks, Vice Chair. This is the second time this has come before the committee. We heard it, the item last December with all of the board policy updates. At that point in time, the request from the executive committee was to have the new independent performance auditor go out and do her own, take her own look at the proposed changes and come back with any recommendations. Since that time, it's also gone back to the audit committee, and what's before you there are changes to 2 sections. One is a change in section of 4.2.3, which is the makeup of the selection committee, and change to 2.4. Stepping back a bit, the intent of some of these changes are to create a little bit more consistency and ensure we have, we understand how complicated and challenging it is to understand how this agency works and get up to speed. So we were looking for term changes of the members, public members, from 2 years to 3 years, because it really does take you a year to get up to speed, and we want a little bit more time to take advantage of that learning. We also considered term changes of the board members from 2 years to 3 years, but that doesn't really mesh well with a 4-year election cycle. So we just left that alone as the board member term 2 years. And the board members already have to be having served on the board for 3 years. So they should be pretty well aware of how SANDAG's working at that point. Relative to Courtney's review, though, she came back with one recommendation, which was in 4.2.3, the selection is adding an independent outside financial expert to the selection committee that was previously proposed. The rest of the makeup stays the same, but she did a look at other audit committees in the region, and pretty much everybody that has public members uses an outside expert. So we re-added that. And that's used today by us as well. So we re-added and approved having an outside expert as part of the selection committee for the audit committee. So all of those changes that were done with the exception of 2.4 were forwarded unanimously by the audit committee. We're all in support of the changes. The other change that's come forward is in 2.4, which is the selection of the chair and the vice chair. The board member selection hasn't changed, as the chair of the board will select the board members and the board member alternate on the audit committee for a 2-year term. That hasn't changed. The audit committee did unanimously feel that the vice chair should be selected by the audit committee and could be selected from any of the primary members of the audit committee. And that's what's before you today. That really hasn't changed. There was from last time, there was a bunch of discussion at the audit committee about the selection of the chair, and there was a divergence of opinions. What's before you was not a unanimous decision, but it's the one we coalesced around, which is the chair is selected by the audit committee, but must be one of the 2 primary board members that's appointed to that committee. I personally felt it was really important that it be one of the board members because it's, as I said, it's a very challenging committee to oversee, and it's important that the board member has to have 3 years of experience in order to be appointed to that role. And so they'll have a lot of knowledge coming in that will help facilitate that. One of the public members felt strongly that the committee should be able to select from anybody, so she voted against forwarding this recommendation. The vice chair, myself, actually think probably the best solution would be to leave it unchanged and just have the chair selected. But I think as long as it's one of the board members, I think it will work well, and we can move forward with that recommendation. So that's the recommendation that's before you. I do have one request, which was, this was a pretty intense discussion, and so we weren't looking at set language before us, and what ended up in 2.4 was the language of the vice chair and chair will be selected for a term of 1 year. I would suggest we change that language to be closer to what it was before, which was they will be selected annually or whenever a position is vacant. So instead of mentioning that it's a term of 1 year, just said the selection will occur annually or when a position is vacant. And I would recommend that we make that change to what's before you today. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Chair Zito. Thank you for all your work on this, to you and the audit committee. I know it's a lot, and you all spent a lot of time on this. I want to make sure that we've tracked the proposed change from Chair Zito. We will entertain a motion after public comment, but if you'd like to include that, or we can make sure that that's included in the motion when it's time for that. Is there public comment on this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have 6 public commenters on this item. Truth, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Mark.
Maybe Vito's back in person. I mean, what kind of person calls into meetings? Or what kind of person says they don't want to be chair and then totally is? But why an alternate non-voting public member? To get another opinion without weight behind it seems pointless. I mean, you already have a few of us speakers. Isn't that enough? And these updated policies say amended 2023, but isn't it supposed to say 2024? And for the random selection of the qualified member finalist, as I said at the audit committee, get a giant fishbowl or one of those spinning lotto cages, you know what I'm talking about? My only real concern is the BOD picking an outside government financial expert. Some people have proven themselves incapable of choosing without bias and competent, non-corrupt people. But based on the proposed changes, it seems like the audit committee already listens well to public comments. Even the selection committee changes took comments into consideration. So is it possible that the audit committee could just run the BOD too? That way we stop the flow of corruption and lies right at the source. And if the bar is ever lowered, I can join, you know?
And your time expired. Mark, please come to the podium. And I had 1 late hand raised, so we'll have a total of 7 speakers on this item. Mark, please go ahead.
Mark. So the board of directors picking an outside governmental financial expert is, I don't like it. It's like, it's pretty much guaranteed that the person you pick will be very far left and for globalist agendas. And it just sounds like something that you're doing to weight your vote against whatever the committee comes up with, or to mitigate it to some degree. Of course, you'll be forced to do something correctly financially, I mean, with the accounting. But as far as who's going to get the blame, and I'm sure they won't go to jail, which is amazing. No one ever seems to go to jail when they do things wrong in government. And it doesn't seem to matter how wrong it is. People can die, people can lose their homes. It just doesn't matter. Government screws up so badly. So yeah, I don't trust that at
Your
all.
time expired. Our next commenter, Mary D, will be followed by phone number 415. Mary D, please go ahead.
Hi, yes, Mary Davis here. This is reference section 2.4. I'm asking you to add a section that the chair will always be one of the 19 voting members. I continue to remain concerned about the Borders Policy Committee that is chaired by a non-voting member. And I would like to see formal structure where chairs for all committees are actually one of the 19 voting members, so that we are getting true elected representation and not having that farmed out by somebody who's not even from our county. So if you could please make that change, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next commenter, phone number 415, please go ahead. You'll be followed by Blair Beekman. You are self-muted.
Good morning, Paul Bold. I think that it is good that you take the board chair out of selecting members of the audit committee. Apart from this being a huge conflict of interest, the members of the audit committee are far more likely to know what qualifications are needed on the committee. And of course, the chair has completely lost the trust of the public at large by restricting public comment to a minute, by repeated non-disclosure of important things, by omitting important facts and presentations, and on and on. SANDAG is dysfunctional and has lost the trust of the people. I think that allowing the audit committee to select its own members will help restore trust in SANDAG. And may I add that, I mean, you keep hearing, I keep hearing, and I'm sure everyone keeps hearing that, you know, negative comments about what the
When your time expired, our next commenter, Blair Beekman, will be followed by the final 2, original draw and 813. Blair, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. A hopeful reminder that the work I do with tech accountability and its good guidelines and legal precedents and good examples can be of help in how you can develop good practices of accountability for this item. Board person Jack Shu talked at a board meeting a couple of weeks ago. He stumbled a bit around words of Monday morning quarterbacking on this issue. I stumbled as well in trying to talk about words of hindsight and how we use hindsight for this issue. You're trying to take a somewhat mellow approach. That's what the audit committee seems to try to be doing. They have a good example, I think. Hopefully it can be helpful and meaningful to us. Does it answer the questions? I don't think it's quite a jail offensive of what's going on. I'm not fully sure the issue. Hopefully it's not that extreme. But what are the other board persons who I feel we're trying to address an overall accountability for the process? Board persons weren't being given information and
When your time expired, the original draw, please go ahead.
Not a jail issue, a prison issue. orange jumpsuit kind of stuff. Yeah, so funny. It's like, I feel like we're at a UN meeting, right? They're not elected, you're not elected, you're just put in these positions to then take over all of the people's, movement, make sure that we can't go anywhere. It would be great. I mean, all we have to do is defund you guys, then we don't need the audit committee. I mean, if you're so happy with Andre, I mean, why would you need an independent outside financial expert? I mean, come on, right? He's doing a great job, right? I mean, he's not engaged in anything nefarious. He's not one headed to prison for all of the things that he's done. I mean, it's just interesting. But yeah, if we just kind of like defunded you guys, we wouldn't have to worry about you totally, demonizing, driving, trying to change our behaviors to get us into our 15-minute cities while pretending the climate is, changing around us when it's weather modification and man-made weather warfare. But like, why would we want to acknowledge that, right? Because then you guys would be obsolete. Oh, man.
Your time expired. Our final commenter, phone number 813, please go ahead. You are so muted.
Okay, yes, amen to all the speakers, especially Paul the Bold. Yeah, SANDAG, the execs specifically are in fact totally corrupt failures. And Zito, you mentioned for more consistency. Let's not forget trust, okay? The small fraction of the public that do know about SANDAG's existence does not trust it, does not trust you. So, yep, that's all I got.
And that concludes the public comments.
All right, thank you so much. So we will go back to Chair Zito before the board members take up a discussion of this item.
Yeah, I just wanted to address a couple of public comments just so we're all for clarity, which is just so we're clear, the outside expert is actually selected by the selection committee on the audit committee and not selected by the board. The selection of and on the selection committee does include the independent performance auditor herself or himself, but the board does have to approve that selection, but simply the audit committee itself can do very little without board approval. That's just how AB 805 was sort of set up. So the selection will be made by the audit committee. It's just subject to approval by the board. And I want to make sure that everyone here is clear on that. There was another commenter that mentioned the chair being a primary member of the board. With this current setup, that would be difficult to arrange unless both members are primary members of the board, given that the audit committee is the one that's selecting the chair. We would probably have to change that a little bit. I think it might be a little onerous to require that both members be primary members of the board. There was some thought process of mine that there is value, I think, of having at least one of the members be a primary member of the board. I did appreciate the first 2 years I was chair having Mayor Vasquez on the committee because she could be in the board discussions and knowing what was going on, and that was helpful. But I also think that could potentially be tackled by just saying this is a best practice and asking the chair to consider that when she or he makes the appointments, as opposed to including it in the policy. But that's just my thought, recommendation.
Thank you so much, Chair Zito. Appreciate that. I'm going to try to summarize the recommended change that you offered to the language that's been included in the item 5 staff report. And I think in order to accomplish the goal that you mentioned in section 2.4, it could read annually, comma, or whenever a vacancy occurs, comma, the audit committee members themselves will select by a majority vote of the committee which members of the audit committee will hold the chair and vice chair positions on the audit committee. Does that get the job done? All right. So with that kind of there as a placeholder, we'll turn to executive committee members to see if there's any discussion of this item, and we will entertain a motion. Member Burkholder.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question to Mary Davis's point. Is there verbiage that says that it's a voting member, or, I mean, because she had concerns. Yeah, I would just think that you would probably know the answer.
Through the chair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so right now, the appointments of the board members to the audit committee, the only requirement is that they've been a member of the board at least 3 years. There's not a requirement that either of them have to be a voting member of the board. As I said, I think because of the requirement of 3 years, you can make things challenging if both primary members on the audit committee had to also be primary members on the board. I don't think we've ever actually had that since the inception of the committee. So I would be a little cautious of that unless we want to make more changes than just that. A possible option, as I said when I started out, my comments were to say that we have in the policy that at least one of the board members be a primary board member that sits on the audit committee. But I also think another way to handle that is to just, you know, this board gets to approve the nominations and just say, we'll just make that a suggestion or a policy that, you know, when we look at the audit committee members, we should try to do our best to make sure, as opposed to actually having it in board policy 39. There's other ways to effectuate that change.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think just kind of double down on that point. When I think about all the variables of how folks can become voting members, right? Whether through its state legislation or if it's a member city that's designating that it must be a certain position, you have the potential of putting a lot of other variables in play that could impact the ability of actually being able to seat folks in that position. Do we have I'll go ahead and actually make the motion just to make sure that we can keep this moving. I'll make a motion to approve the proposed revisions, including the one referenced by Chair Zito in section 2.4 to account for the ability for annual or vacancy triggered votes of the audit committee for the chair and vice chair. If council needs me to read that language one more time. All right. So I'll go ahead and make a motion. Is there a second? We'll have a second from Mayor Jones. I see no additional requests to speak to this item. Let's go ahead and call the roll for this if we can.
The roll call vote on item number 5. Vice Chair Elo Rivera.
Yes.
County of San Diego is absent. East County Mayor Vasquez.
Yes.
North County Coastal Councilmember Burkholder.
Yes.
North County Inland Mayor Jones.
Yes.
South County Councilmember Molina.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate again, Chair Zito, your work on this. With that, do we have any continued non-agenda public comment?
Thank you, Chair. We have 2 continued non-agenda public comments. If you're still online, phone number 813 and the original draw, please raise your hands at this time. I see the original draw. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but I believe that I have caught human trafficking in the county. And one of the places is at 30th Street and Iris Avenue down in San Ysidro. And then there's another one at 631 Camino del Rio South. It's a Ramada and it's got a fence around it. It's so weird. And then at 3888 Greenwood Street, there's also, it's a Sheraton. It's an old Sheraton, but it has a fence around it too. And it's very concerning to see that people are being trafficked, even children, out of there. And then there's also another place. It's 4902 Pacific Highway. In fact, it's an old California Highway Patrol office. And I don't understand, but the state said that it's in the best interest of the state to traffic humans from there. And so it's a little bit concerning. And I know that there's one more place. Actually, there's several of them. But there's one that's going to be coming forward. And I'll let you guys know about it because this is really concerning to see that children are being trafficked. And again, I mean, there's also been a little girl that's been raped. So, it's just like, I feel like, should I tell you guys? Because maybe you could do something about it.
Your time expired. Seeing no further hands raised, that concludes the public comments.
All right. Well, with that, that concludes our meeting, and the next executive committee meeting will be on June 14th at 9 a.m. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.